Uh, and nice to have you again for the second part of this workshop on the healthy adult, which is a great topic, but challenging sometimes. But I thought that we would best start by summarizing some of the things we shared last week. And I'm also very curious to see if you had some experiences, maybe questions regarding that first part of the webinar. But first, sort of refresh your memory. I mean, what did we discuss last time that we met? Well, I guess what I would like to summarize is that we talked a bit about that the healthy adult is constantly there as throughout the whole process of schema therapy, but throughout the process, the healthy adult has different forms. Like in the case conceptualization form, we work on the healthy adult in a very different way than what we would do in the last part of the therapy. And we discussed that it is important to have that structure in mind, because our children, they help us to be mindful of what we need to do differently over the time. And they change in a physical way, in a hormonal way, and they push us to be different with them. Since our patients will just be the adult patients as we know them, we have to be mindful of the fact that we will have to change our way of guiding them. It has to start with guiding them in an active way in the first part of the therapy, but it needs to change in the middle part in coaching them more and bringing the healthy adult more actively into the picture. And as the last part of the therapy, we need to push them more. You need to do it yourself. And that is something that we need to be aware of. And I talk from my own experience that it is difficult sometimes, because if you don't remind yourself in an active way, you can easily get stuck in this cycle where you do your same thing over and over and over again, which is in many ways good, but it's not working towards autonomy, towards that healthy adult that we would like them to have. That is something we talked about last time. So one of my questions was, have you sort of made your therapy plan and structured your therapy with your patients according to these steps that we just mentioned? Did you change your plan, or did you work on that plan maybe in that way? Let's see, how many of you have done that? How many of you thought, well, let me sort of go back to the therapy plan, let's go to the board, and then try to see when do I need to go to that next phase, and what will be the criterion that I will be focused on to evaluate if I succeeded that. Who of you have done that? Nice. Miriam, would you like to share?
Yeah, I like to share that. That was one of the most important things, I think, as all of you have given last time, but that was the most important thing that I directly changed, because it gives me super much more that I'm in an active role, but also not let them, I'm trained as a Gestalt therapist, so I really like to embrace this, what you're saying, to structure, to have a goal. And for me, this metaphor you use as looking at your own children, where you can see the changes also physically in them, it's very grateful to have that also with your clients. And as couple therapies, I think many of you know the EFT, it also gives in these phases, and it really helps to really understand and bring your client with it. Also to evaluate, like, where are you now? And then you see when they are more ready, because before I didn't do that, and then you fall in a trap, or I fell in a trap, that you start, and I thought my client was ready, working with this healthy adult side, but then you go in the imaginary rescripting, and then you see that they are not capable at all. And then still you have to step in as a therapist yourself.
Well, I'm happy that you mentioned that, and happy to hear that this has been helpful for you. And it is something in a way sort of technical to structure your therapy plan, but it is helpful. It is working on a healthy adult. I mean, if we want that healthy adult to be there strong and 18 years old or older, then we need to work towards that moment. First, they start to be a 60-year-old, then they develop to be a 12-year-old, and then they become this 18-year-old adult. And how do we want to help them?
And what surprises me is that I feel more confident as a therapist having that structure. So
Well,
that's
please.
probably why I took it out.
Yeah. Well, many thanks for this positive
Thank you.
experiences that you share with us. The other thing that we mentioned, of course, was that to work on a healthy adult requires that you actively, that we have to see it as a mode, like any other mode, and that every mode we try to define in terms of how can we identify this mode? What are the typical signs, physical signs, and how they behave, but also what they emotionally experience in being in that mode, what they physically experience, what kind of thoughts they typically have being in that mode. We do that for every mode, so we also should do that with the healthy adult. And that's something we also practice by visualizing our own healthy adults. I've been wondering, have you been doing that? Have you been sort of, as homework, practice visualizing your own healthy adult last week? Who has done that? Who sort of actively brought that image back to mind where they saw themselves? Yeah, you did, Ahmed?
Yes, I think when I'm working with some of my clients, I have like little confusion before the last workshop about how to like taking his healthy adult by visualizing and pushing him to act in reality life. So after we are finishing the first part of workshop, I'm starting to like preparing the shape of healthy adult before visualizing and get into the visualizing. I didn't get, practice it before. Like I'm all of the time like getting the healthy adult shape into the visualizing.
Yeah.
So I think it's like obstacles for me or struggling me in work.
Yeah.
But when I did it this week, I preparing the healthy adult before visualizing. I think it's get more smooth,
Yeah.
and I think it's very nice.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that with us. And I totally agree. It's like activating that part of the brain that we need to be activated. That healthy adult needs to be sort of primed in a way in order to be able to step into an image, as you say, and to do some risk scripting. Yeah. So other people also raised their hands when it was about the question if they practice their own healthy adults. Who would like to share something about those experiences? Yeah, Maria? Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me like this?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Just for me, it is the point when I identify some emotions going down, because if I'm not in a healthy adult mode, I'm kind of sinking and I don't like it. And this is the time when I need to do something. So I'm kind of get out of it or plunge out, which is a very nice feeling.
Yeah.
But it is hard. It's
Yeah.
not.
It is, and that's why it's so important to have that structure in mind, but also prepare and practice. I mean, it isn't something that you just gain by just realizing it. That you just be able to do it. It's a process. It's a learning process. But I'm happy that you do that in an active way, and that's what we share. I mean, we have this plan in mind. We want to develop the patient to become this adult patient with a healthy adult captain on the ship, and it helps to have clear steps in mind. And also it helps to prepare them. If you were doing this imagery exercise, then first we activate this healthy part and then we ask them to bring it into the imagery exercise. Yeah. If I'm looking now at the program for the second part, I would like to work on, first of all, share with you what I think are the elements of what a healthy adult does. I mean, there's a lot of talk, and there are books now dealing with what a healthy adult does. And so there's many things you could say to that, but I would like to give you a simple but clear practical plan that might help you to give an answer to the question, okay, so I have my healthy adult, but what do I need to do now? What a healthy adult does needs to be defined if we want to sort of have the patients do it him or herself. And when we do that in the first part, we just do it, we provide them an experience, but if we want them to take over, we need to be clear in our instructions what they need to do. So that's something I would like to share, and also practice those steps of the healthy adult in doing chair work, which is a fun technique. in any case, but it's now also challenging and fun to do it online. So I would like to work on that and use imagery, but now focus more on the future. So if we are coming to the end of the therapy and we are almost to the end of our goal, that the patient has a strong enough capital on the ship, it's also good to strengthen that part by preparing them for a future where there might be challenging situations, or there will be challenging situations. How are you going to deal with that? And to make use of imagery is a way to strengthen that healthy adult part. Now, depending on the time, I would also like to share maybe another technique, but let's see how it goes. That's the plan for today. Are you all happy? Let's give me thumbs up then. I would like it to be yay. And now I would like you to raise your hand. And I would like you to swing them sideways. And now the other way around. And now both ways, fast. Okay, keep on doing that. I like the image. Yay. That's what I like about doing these webinars. It's just the sheer power that you have. You can give instructions and people just do whatever you want them to do. Oh, it's beautiful. Sorry for all this. You may hate me, but anyway, this is my moment of glory. Okay. What I would like to share with you is the PowerPoint, of course. So this is what you see. It's a nice, beautiful image of a labyrinth, which is, of course, the whole process that we are facing. We want to go to the center. We want to achieve our goal, which is sometimes requires hard work. Like I mentioned, it is about the question, what do you actually do? And it's about reminding ourselves that first of all, that question might be relevant in the sense that we need to be aware of what we do, what we are doing, but we don't necessarily mean to sort of educate the patients on that. In the first phase, we're just providing them corrective emotional experiences. It is helpful if we are aware how we are doing that. But in that second phase, middle part, end part of therapy, then it becomes really essential that we are able to give words to what does a healthy adult do. Now, to give you an answer to that question, I think I would like to show you a clip which might help to get that answer. I will have to switch between media. Now, some of you have already seen this one, but it's a good way of discussing what a healthy adult does. So let's look at it. Oh, no, the wrong one. Damn, sorry. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so what does a healthy adult do? This is about the answer.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail.
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just.
Don't.
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on? We can work it out.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, what do you think of this? You like this, Christoph? You like it? It's one of my favorites. I can see this like I've seen it like 100 times. It still keeps on being impressively good. But I told you it was about an answer to the question, what does a healthy adult do? Now, maybe first we could ask the question differently. What doesn't seem to be going that well in this? What's the problem in this scene? Who would like to take a guess? Why is it not working out? Difficult question. I mean, you could argue, yeah, that the man obviously is right. I mean, if you just take out the nail, then everything would be solved. But I would say, well, she's right as well. She also has a good point. And I guess this is something that we all can relate to. I can. I mean, I have a lovely wife, but she can sometimes be very practical in the solution. So when I talk about something that was upsetting to me and I share that with her, then her first answer might be, well, what you could have done or what you should do in that situation is, and then she tells me what I could do. And I find it so annoying. I mean, it's not that it is a bad advice or anything. It is good advice most of the times. So probably at the end of the day, I will decide to do it her way, but it's not what I need in that moment. And I guess that's what goes wrong in this picture. They're both right, and he's right, but she's right as well. What goes wrong is it's the bad timing. He's giving good advice, but it's coming too quickly. What my wife is saying is probably the best thing that I could do, but it's coming too soon. What I need in that moment is not the practical advice, what to do or what action to take. What I need in that moment is just some acknowledgement, some compassion for what I'm experiencing. So what I need in that moment is just the simple remarks like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Or I can imagine that it must be painful or difficult for you to deal with. Now, I'm sure you also have similar experiences that you shared something and that people came with practical solutions that you didn't want to hear in that moment. Who of you have that feeling, know that feeling? Okay, so you see many hands raised. So this is something that we know. The difficulty is that we are inclined to jump into action. We want to help, we want to solve, and our patients also will push us to do that, to offer, to come up with practical solutions, because they will say, well, what do I need to do in this situation? Just before this meeting, I had a patient who is in a difficult living situation where she has a new neighbor and he's just constantly inviting people over in the Corona crisis, making parties, etc. So it's many different ways. It's obnoxious, it's difficult. And she asked me, well, what would you do? What should I do? And it's so easy to think in terms of practical solution, call the police, set fire to the house, whatever. But it's not that what she needs in that moment. So what I also shared with her is that what she needs to do in that moment is she needs to first be full of compassion and be kind to herself. So the first thing that we need to do is not come up with some practical solution. It's offering compassion. That's what often is necessary. Then, of course, then we need to be mindful of all patterns taking over. And by that I mean, like, the critical side might jump in and might give her a hard time, or her own coping mode, her own protector might take over, and she flips into this mode where she's trying to solve things in the old way. Why is that not something that you need in that moment? Be specific in the reasons why this critical side is not right in that moment. Be specific in the reasons why you don't need to close off and fall back into old surviving patterns. And then only then as the third and final step, then you can sort of think about what to do in that situation. So the behavioral modification, by that I mean, try to do it in a healthy way, and often that will be a different approach than what the old patterns would dictate, like your coping mode. So it's compassion, cognitive restructuring, behavioral modification. It's first be kind to yourself, what you feel. Then try to think about why your reflex thinking is not the right way. And only then you can think about ways how to deal with that situation. It's easier said than done. This is something that you have to teach your patients. This is something that for us, most of the time is natural. We do this without any second thoughts. This is common knowledge in a way, but for many patients it's not. So we have to teach them how to be compassionate towards themselves. This, for many of my patients, this is one of the most difficult steps they have to learn to take. Be compassionate towards themselves, which is to say, not to say anything about what to do, but just say, hey, I feel sad, and of course I feel that way. And why? Because, hey, this is a difficult situation. I mean, anyone would feel in this situation sad because it is tough. I mean, if you're on your own and there's a group of people living around and making noise, that's tough. I mean, of course you feel anxious and sad and angry, but hey, another reason why it's so obvious that you feel sad is because this is not the first time in your life that people haven't been mindful of your needs. I mean, you've been ignored so many times in your life. Of course, then this is a situation where you feel, again, that same pain, making it even worse for you. And it's a combination of different modalities. It's the words, and the words are about explicit understanding about the situation, but also the background. But it's also the tone of voice. To be full of compassion is something that most of the patients will have to be taught. They will not be able to do it right away. Then the next step will be cognitive restructuring, meaning identify and name the parent mode or the coping mode and give specific reasons why in this situation is not a realistic view on what's happening. And also give alternative, more realistic views on what might take place. And only then you can move on to behavior modification. And that is about what to do in that situation. And what to do, what action to take is something that needs to come from your needs. What do I need? And if this is my need, how am I going to sort of look after my needs in this situation, which is never ideal? I mean, there will be limitations, there will be challenges, but what can I do? How can I sort of find my way, plot my course to get what I need and still be connected to the people in that situation? Does this make sense to you? Okay. For me, this is also helpful to think in metaphors. Like, this is what I imagine, what I remember also when my children were small and I was walking through the city, having a plan in mind. I needed to go to do the shopping over there to get some food, and I needed to do some shopping over there to get some drinks. And then suddenly my daughter stumbled and turned out that she was crying on her knees. I don't want to walk anymore. And yeah, I had this plan, but what I needed to do, and children force you to do that, I needed to be kind and full of compassion to her. Of course, hey, come on. And don't be too critical with her. Don't be too pushy, because that will not help. And that is the first step that I needed to do. Be full of compassion, not be too critical, not be too pushy. But then again, there's a situation and I need to deal with that as well. So it's trying to stay connected to the needs of the child, but also deal with a situation that needs to be addressed. And that is never ideal. There's always a little bit of hectic. And is it really necessary that I have to do that shopping? What can I leave for another moment? What do we need to do right now? And try to find your way. It's never a straight course. It always will be like this. Any questions about this? Or am I making this also perfectly clear that everybody is happy? Okay, so what I would like to do and share with you is to practice those 3 steps, and chair work is beautiful for doing that. Just to be mindful of the fact that what we are doing in schema therapy, there are certain sort of guidelines that always are helpful. One guideline is what we often do and what we teach our patients is mode awareness and then mode management. That's one guideline that we often do. And what we are talking about now, the 3 steps of the healthy adults, that has to do with the mode management. Okay, so you're aware of what's happening. Now, what are you going to do? Well, connect to the healthy adult, and then you have to teach the patients to apply the 3 steps. And chairs can be a helpful guiding tool doing that. Okay, what I would like to demonstrate, but just to give you an idea of what you're going to look at, is we are in the second phase of the therapy, like let's say middle phase of the therapy. Maybe, I don't know, like if this would be a therapy plan of 50 sessions, maybe this is like session 30 or 35 or something like that. So we still have some time, but we are already well on our way. So the patient has an image of the healthy adult. We have been providing corrective emotional experiences, but now it becomes more and more important that the patient learns to do it him or herself. And the patient comes in and talks about something upsetting. And with that, you hear the typical things that you've been knowing by now. The patient talks about being hurt in a way, and then this parent mode has been kicking in, and they flipped into this coping mode, and they've been trying to do it differently, but it was a bit of a struggle. And you hear a lot of the old patterns. Now, normally, I would be the one actively pointing it out to the patient, but now we need to change our behavior. We need to be more coaching and pushing instead of guiding. So the chair work could mean that you let the patient talk about all that, making them aware that these are all the feelings, emotions, cognitions that have been going on in the situation. Then you place 3 chairs in front of them, and the 3 chairs represent the 3 steps of the healthy adult. And you ask the patient to sit in 1, 2, 3 chairs and to practice the steps of that healthy adult. Meaning that in chair number 1, they first need to be connected to this healthy adult part of themselves. And this imagery exercise can be helpful in doing that. So maybe that's good to start. After you ask them to sit in the chair 1, ask them to close their eyes, think back of that picture, sit in a way that they feel more this healthy side of themselves, say the words that might be helpful, and then you can ask them to open their eyes, and then they practice the steps, which was chair number 1, compassion. So that's the practice. And then after that, you ask them to sit back in their original place, and then you repeat again what has been said in all the 3 chairs. But now giving them a chance to take it in. So like with the imagery exercise that we did, there are 2 sides to what they do. The first part is sitting in the chairs and actively doing the steps, which is empowering. They need to do it themselves, and they can, so they feel the confidence building, they can do something about it. But the second part of the exercise is sitting in that original chair and taking those messages, those healthy messages in. And that is about being looked after, validated. Okay. Now, this is all the theory. Oops, that's not what I had in mind. I will click and get some room to work with, but my question to you is, I need somebody to do this demonstration with. So I need somebody who can be my patient, and something happened last week, a trigger situation, and you struggled, something like that. So you can think about who will be volunteering while I will create some room to work with. So, who will be my victim? Patient that I'll be torturing, helping. Now you might wonder, is this your healthy adult? Or are you all flipping back into your old avoidant coping mode? I need somebody to love. Can anybody find me?
I can try, Remco.
Ah, Oksana, you're my savior. So, okay, if everybody else would be so kind to switch off the camera and sound, by the way. And then there will be just the 2 of us. So, just give me, no, I won't ask you that in advance. Let's do it like this is just the therapy. Can you give me some specifics about this patient? Name, the age, what kind of, or will it just be you?
I will be playing myself.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
put up the volume a bit. So, well, then I'm happy to see you again, Oksana. Really, I am.
Me too.
Well, thanks. I've been wondering how you've been feeling last week.
It was different, but actually was quite good. But lately I had, kind of breakdown. I cried at my daughter because I was exhausted and so on.
Oh, that's not nice to hear.
Yeah. Just because I was tired.
Yeah. Well, it sounds, the way that you explain it, sounds like a natural response. I mean, if I'm exhausted, I can also become more emotional.
Yeah, that's what happens usually.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if it's about last week, you think back of that situation, and do you mean like this situation itself was a difficult or challenging situation, or is the memory of that situation difficult or painful to you?
It was not last week, it was yesterday, it was lately, I said, yeah. So it's even to remember about that, it's a pity because, I love my daughter. I don't want to be hard on her, but this happened.
Yeah. So just know what, then we have to make a choice. What I guess, but help me out. What I guess is you talk about situation yesterday, so it recently happened. And that in itself is a painful situation, but I imagine listening to you that looking back at that situation now is also in a way upsetting.
Yeah, it's sad.
But in a way they're two different situations. What is most upsetting to you? Do you find it most upsetting to think back of what happened yesterday? Do you feel like, well, that's part of it, but the situation itself was painful? That was what I was bothered by.
I think both. It's to look back, it's a sad, and being there yesterday also were. But yesterday I was more angry. Now I'm more sad that this happened.
Okay. Well, then I will leave you with the choice. And it's not because I will sort of throw it at your side of the fence, but I would just like to give you some freedom. You can pick your choice, and there's no good or bad choice in this. But what do you prefer? That we focus on how you now look back at what happened yesterday, or that we look back at the situation of yesterday itself? For me, it's...
It's a hard choice, not because it's a hard to choose, but it's a like equal proposition. So I can give this choice back to you.
I like the smile on your face when you joke around. Yeah. So in that case, then I would say, well, let's focus on that situation and yesterday. Then we start like chronically with what happened yesterday. And maybe let's start by you talking a bit about the situation, but really get into that feeling and just don't analyze, don't explain. It's not about that, but just give words to what your feelings are, what comes to mind, what you wanted to do, what you did, what you hated, what you liked. Can you give me some specifics?
Yeah, maybe I will cry. It's okay.
Well, I'm not afraid for your tears. I'm not afraid of your tears, but I can imagine that you might not like it. Do you want me to help you sort of stay a bit within the window of tolerance, or do you feel like it's safe enough?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, I will do my best.
Yesterday I was trying to help my daughter, although I was very busy. And I did one stuff. I helped her with presentation, but then I appeared that she lost her Gmail kind of name of her Gmail, and I just was irritated. I demanded her to find it somewhere and so on. And then I was more and more demanding. I raised my voice.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was very close, start to cry.
Hey, and Oksana, I hear a lot of things going on, and like I said, I will help you. So I see you get emotional. I can totally understand that. I mean, it sounds like a lot of things happened. You became a bit angry. You started to become more angry, but now I also see and hear your tears. Is that also something that happened in that situation? Because you mentioned that you This was a situation where you cried, or?
No, I didn't cry yesterday. I just cry now when I think about this.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened mostly was that you were trying to help her. She didn't have the Gmail account, and then you start to get irritated, and that sort of built it up. And
Yeah.
then your daughter responded to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you do with all that? I mean, a lot of things take place internally, but also between the two of you. What did you do in that situation?
I was trying to help her to find this Gmail, but I couldn't. And I started to be irritated in my voice. And I just said that it's too much, I have to work. And I sent her to her room to search for it and said that she's not allowed to play on her phone until she will find it.
Okay. Okay. Well, clear. A lot of things take place, and emotional currents. I'm glad that you shared that with me. I think that's a very good choice, healthy choice in itself, because it sounds like it's been bothering you, and just to share it in itself is a healthy thing to do. But if you're willing, I would like to work on that and try to help you, but then the healthy part of you, your captain on the ship, to sort of deal with this situation and look back at this situation.
Okay.
And what I would like you to do now is that give me some information, like you're in this room. Do you have, what I would like you to do is have 3 different places where you can sit. Might be that you have to shift a little bit to your left or right, or do you have different chairs in your
I
room?
have 2 more. So altogether 3.
Yeah, but then I would like this place just to be for you being in that experience, experiencing it all. But now these other chairs, I would like there to be opposites in a way to where you're sitting now. Maybe you first can move over to this chair to your left.
Okay, I will. Mm-hmm.
The reason why, Oksana, is that if you look back at the blue chair to your right, that's where where you described the whole situation. Yeah, exactly. That over there's Oksana that just has been in an emotional turmoil. She has experienced so many things internally. Now, but in this chair over here, together with me, I would like us look at her, but more with a more healthy, coming from a more healthy point of view. And that means that I first would like you to have you being in that mode, in that healthy captain's role. So maybe what you could do is just close your eyes for a moment. I would like you to take a deep breath now. Okay. And just take a moment to get this memory, to get this image of you being this healthy, grown-up Oksana. Maybe you have that memory in your mind that you practiced last week. Or maybe another memory comes to mind. But I would like you to get an image of you being this healthy, the grown-up. Well, what do you see right now?
I see myself in a therapeutic room when I'm at my work, and I work with a challenging couple. But what I can do is to be kind of, not to be involved too much in what is going on, to be a little bit above of their complicated behavior.
So you're handling this situation really well. That's what I hear. Yeah. Do you like that image of you being this therapeutic role? Do you like looking at her?
Yeah, I can also see them. I feel that I accept them. I'm not, I don't take it like it's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
I can.
What I would like you to do is really get into that, try to get into the skin of that therapeutic Oksana, the therapist Oksana, and just be there and try to find a posture, a physical position that is matching the role that you feel, the role that you have right now. So you're managing. What kind of physical position is matching that feeling of? being just above the situation, being able to handle?
You know, my shoulders are more straightened, but they are also relaxed.
Yeah, okay. And what do you feel right now, being the therapist, being so confident? What do you feel right now?
In my body, I feel like I can breathe more deeply. In my feelings, I feel more calm. I can't notice some
That's okay.
big emotion.
Yeah. Now hold on to that feeling, hold on to this experience, realizing that you actually are now the captain on your ship. This really is like the healthy part of you. This is you being in your best, I guess. Yeah. Now hold on to that feeling and open your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And holding on to that feeling, I would like you to take a look at that chair to your right, realizing that over there, the Oksana sitting over there, she was being in a totally different experience. She was feeling what? What was she feeling when she was describing the situation yesterday?
In the situation, she felt a lot of irritation.
Yeah. And how can we totally understand that she's been feeling irritated? Why is it so, yeah, why is it so natural in a way?
Because it's natural to feel irritated when you are overwhelmed by different stuff, and the work, the amount of work is bigger than the possibilities to resolve.
Okay, but can you tell her, just talk about this, say directly to her that you, of course you feel irritated because,
Yeah, dear, of course you're irritated because it's so much is going on now. Kids are at home and you have plus your all work. It's really hard. It would be hard for everyone.
and you know her, you know also her background, and I can imagine that maybe also part of her background makes those situations where she's under a lot of stress extra difficult. Knowing her that well, how can you even have a better understanding of why she was so overwhelmed and irritated yesterday? Of course, you're irritated because. Can you say something about the background of this?
Yeah, of course you're irritated because you had so many different situations in your background when you were too overloaded by different responsibilities and no one helped you in any way.
It sounds really kind. It sounds full of understanding. I also can hear and see the emotion that is underneath that. But I also like that. I think you're very authentic in being compassionate. Of course you feel that way. It is a difficult situation with a lot of work, but especially being on your own with a lot of pressure in the background. Yeah, I can see that this is a really difficult spot to be in.
Yeah.
Now I would like you, and this might be practically a little bit challenging, but I would like you to put yourself in a little bit different position. Maybe you can shift your chair a little bit, or maybe you can.
I will sit. It's a big chair.
Okay, well, that's great. Yeah, because I need you to do something else as well. Because after all this understanding, I guess what we need to think about what's happening. If we listen back to what she's talking about, with all the pressure and with all and making her irritated because of that, who's bothering her? Who's maybe sitting next to her and making her so overloaded with work? Who's doing that? You know her, you know the patterns in her life. Who seems to be active now in that situation?
I think you mean my punitive side or demanding.
Yeah, it wasn't an open question. No. I know you a little bit. I think I could hear a very strong pushing, demanding, punitive sides. Yeah. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's two parts of this. One is maybe putting too much responsibilities on her, and the other one is telling, how could you be irritated with your daughter?
Yeah. And if you look at the blue chair now, where would you locate those two parts? Are they more to the left or to the right of that chair? Where would you place them? Those two, the more demanding and the punitive side.
Mm,
Are they looming over the chair? Are they sitting to the left or to the right?
Levanted to the right.
Okay. Now, why? First, let's discuss, Oksana. Why? I mean, I also recognize them, but why are they not really welcome here? Why are they not really realistic in how they contribute to this? Why are they not right? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, of course, they are not right because first of all, Oksana made mistake. Oksana, when she was maybe too hard on her daughter, but she is a human. She asked also. She said, "I'm sorry," and it's not good for her just to be stuck in that feeling and to listen again this side. Yeah, so she's just a human. She's worth a better attitude.
Oh, I really love this. But say it again. But say directly to them. I mean, they're sitting there next to the chair. Say directly. You're doing great. I'm next to you.
Okay, so I'm not allowing you to be hard on her. Yes, she was hard on her daughter, but she recognized that and she said sorry. She's just a human. She makes mistakes. And it's we all are like that when we are overwhelmed. And her daughter, she also can deal this.
Right.
So stop hurting her again and again because of this situation.
Say that again. Stop hurting her. Say that again, but 20% louder.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Just stop it because it's too hard on her. It's not fair.
Great, great. You're doing great. Thank you so much. Now, there's one final step that I would like you to take. And maybe that's good that you take this other chair because that really requires a different point of view. So maybe you can move yourself over to this other chair. Great, yeah. And can you sit over in that chair? Yeah. I like the fact that it's more whitish. It's about shedding some light over the situation, because in this chair I would like you to take a look at the situation, because what you've done so far is great. You've been full of compassion. You have sort of pointed out why this demonic punitive side is not right, but still there's this situation then. So Oksana is stuck in a situation where she's trying to help, it's not working out, and her daughter is not able to do the things that she needs to do. Now, in this chair, I would like you to be the captain on the ship. What do you think that she needs to do? Keeping in mind that the whole situation might not be ideal, what do you think that she needs to do? What you need to do now, Oksana, is tell her. How can she manage this situation better in your point of view?
Okay. So I think maybe when she is overwhelmed, she can set the limits and with the work, I mean, she can say to the daughter that it's not a good time now.
Nice. Can you say directly to her, Oksana, what you need to do now is take this seriously and see this as a sign that this is not the right time. So what you need to say to your daughter now is say it directly, okay?
Oksana, in such case, when you are overwhelmed, you don't have to make yourself make this, super efforts. You can set the limits and say that it's not a good time. It's not the right time now to take even more at your shoulders.
Wow. Great, Oksana. But you are doing great. Many things. Last part. I would like you now to sit over in this blue chair again. And in this chair, I would like you to take a moment to reconnect to the situation. Maybe you can close your eyes for a moment and bring yourself back to the situation yesterday. You being there with your daughter, trying to help her. She lost her Gmail account. You starting to get irritated. Starting to be a bit more demanding, and your daughter not being able to comply, and then sending her away. Okay, I need you to open your eyes. And bring yourself back to the situation now. You can open your eyes now again. Because I need you, with this experience in mind, I need you to listen back to what has been said from those three different positions. The first one, what was to your left? You sat there just a minute ago and it was full of understanding and compassion. What was the understanding that was said from this chair? What can you remember?
I remember that from this chair was healthy adult Oksana said that like it's okay when you sometimes do mistakes, when you're overwhelmed, and it's too much sometimes for you.
Yeah. And I can also remember, of course, you felt irritated. I mean, anyone would. You're on a lot of pressure, there's a lot of workload, and of course you feel irritated. And she also pointed out that this wasn't the first time that you felt like stuck with a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility. What was it again that you mentioned from your past?
Yeah, like that was because I felt a lot of responsibilities in my childhood, and I was alone with those responsibilities.
How do you feel right now, listening back to those messages, listening back to the kindness and understanding? What feeling does it bring to you?
Sadness.
Yeah.
Sadness.
And is it a sadness like this, a bad sadness, or is it a good sadness?
It's more warm sadness.
Warm sadness. Well, I'm glad that you can feel that. And it feels to me like a very natural response to kindness and understanding. It's almost like there's a balm being put on a burning wound, and maybe it's prickly or sort of makes you feel it a bit in a sharp way, but it is good in a way. Yeah. You're not off the hook yet, because it's not just compassion, it's also the realization that what you've been bothered by is not realistic. Because in this second place, the second position, who was directed, who was addressed in that chair? Who was addressed?
My punitive and demanding sides were addressed.
Yeah. In what way? What can you remember? What did you say when you were sitting over there?
Yeah, that it's too much, that I can sometimes do mistakes, that I'm just a human, that I can be overwhelmed. And for human, it's very natural to be irritated when they are overloaded.
Yeah. And I can vividly remember that she was looking to the place left side to you, and she said, "Stop it, stop bothering her, stop hurting her," with the gestures. She was really angry at your mother, at your punitive side. Now I need you to direct your focus of attention to the widest chair, because over there something was said about how to handle this situation if it would be a situation that would come across again. What was she saying?
She was saying that I can take seriously my state of be overwhelmed or overloaded more seriously, and say that it's too much now, and say that we have to find another time, that she's not ready now.
Yeah.
I am not ready now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was saying,
That I am not obliged to kind of, to meet any request from everybody.
take this seriously, she said. What
Yeah.
you need to do now is to say, this is not a good time. What you need to do now is realize that you are under a lot of stress and it's too much for this moment. Great. How do you feel right now, Oksana?
More freely, like it's okay sometimes to be irritated, to make mistakes, and more freely, like I can be not passive in all the requests which comes to me, more active in deciding which request I can take now, undertake, and which request I have to put on pause.
Yeah, nice. I'm so happy with you. You did a great job. I mean, it was really emotional, but you also showed that being emotional still means you can sort of switch back to a more adult side and to deal with that in a healthy way, and not being in a punitive way, condemning yourself over this, but being kind and guiding yourself through those steps. Really great work. Yeah, many thanks.
And you too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's look or listen to what other people might have to say about this. And not so much about Oksana, but much more about me and the steps that I took and the things that I did. Any questions or remarks? Maria?
I would like to tell maybe to Oksana very much thank you for bravery and for very touching work. I also was touched what you did. It was really great. And if about this chair work, yeah, I liked it very much, and I think it was very nice this last part when you was repeating, and even she was repeating and you was repeating. It was double some kind of remembering. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for pointing it out. It is basically in this stage, it is a lot of repetition, but because we want it to become internalized, and to be able to do that, you just need to repeat it a lot. And often those rigid patterns, they share this positive aspect to it. The fact that this punitive side is so rigid and consistent in her life is just the result of repeating a lot of those punitive messages. There's nothing wrong with her capacity to internalize. The only trouble she had was that the messages that we were being provided were punitive messages. So we make use of the capacity to internalize, but that means that we need to repeat ourselves a lot of the times ourselves. Yeah. Any questions or remarks about the technique? Keeping in mind that I'm asking you to do it yourself in a moment or so.
I have a question now. Can I? Remco, but I can imagine that it can appear different modes, different states. We can find that no punitive side, but maybe just a coping mode, or your aim was to find also a punitive and coping. No.
Not necessarily. It's about identifying the patterns and identifying those sides of the patients that are blocking her to be met, to be validated in her needs. And that, in this case, it was a punitive side, but it could have been a coping mode. You're absolutely right. Yeah. People, what I would like you to do is practice, and you have half an hour for that. And I would like you to, if you've been split up in pairs, the invitation is that you use something of your own personal situation. I feel that this is something I can ask of you, but you don't have to. So if you don't feel good about that, then you can make use of a situation of the patient. But I would like you to profit as much as you can. So as a therapist, you practice the steps as you've been shown, but also as a patient, or in you being just the patient role, you can experience what it is like to divide it up in 3 steps. Okay? Alrighty, party. Now let's see you in half an hour. And before that, I will visit you to check and to control. Are we all there?
Excuse me, Remco, can I ask a question?
Yeah, that's what this time is meant for, to talk a little bit about the experiences and to answer some of your questions.
Thank you very much. Could you explain once more, please, the algorithm, in which order we offer the patient to change the place? We begin.
So in which order? Which
what order? What order we offer to take the place?
Yeah. So it's one that you ask the patients their variations to a theme, but it starts by talking about a trigger event and talking about how that affects you. Then it's all blended. Everything is over there. And the 3 steps of the healthy adults are the 3 steps that are there to help the patient deal with that complex reality. So what we did is that I asked Oksana from her first position just to talk about the situation, but you can also use a separate chair. This will be the chair where you talk about the event itself. Next, you place 3 separate chairs around or opposite. And those 3 chairs represent the 3 steps. You can either put signs in those chairs, like this is the chair of compassion, this is the chair of cognitive understanding. That's an option, to repeat some of the messages. And don't forget, if some of you are doing group chemotherapy, who is doing group chemotherapy? Then you can make use of other group members to take positions in the places. And it's a nice practice for both sides, because I remember that there was this one guy, Tom, and he was constantly giving practical advice. And then I would say, Tom, can you sit over in this first chair where it's just about compassion? In this chair, you just need to be kind to her and say why you can totally understand. Yeah, but she just needs, no, this is not your chair. But the one who's always understanding, but never is able to sort of give practical directives or is not being confident enough to do that, she can take place in chair number 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then sit back on the first chair and then to take in the messages. And don't forget to put a spotlight on the experiences that have been taking place. It's not just saying the words, it's also making them aware. How do you feel? How do you feel being in that chair where you are addressing the parent mode? How do you feel doing that? It feels good, it feels confident. If she's in the first chair again, taking it all in, how do you feel when you hear that message again that your mother is not right, why she's not good in saying all this to you? How do you feel right now? This is basically what we all the time do. We are trying to create corrective emotional experiences, but then also putting a spotlight on them in order to emphasize those feelings, to help them to internalize to the maximum. And then even small, tiny emotional experiences can become meaningful. Might be a small moment, but it is intense, it is meaningful.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. Any other questions or concerns or experiences that you would like to share?
I have a question. Is it okay? About the number of chairs to be able to work through all these steps, but also identify with a healthy adult. Is it only 3 chairs or 4?
Well,
just not to be.
This is not exact science. So what you see is just a form that I like in as a way to work with healthy adults. But sometimes you're just realistic limitations. There are not enough chairs, and that's not a problem. Or you're doing online chemotherapy, and then basically this is all the thing that you can do. This is where I talk about the situation, and now I need you to become the captain on the ship. First, be kind. Second, address those other modes. So you can take as many or as little other chairs as you want. But what some of you notice is that's the beauty of chair work, isn't that? That's that to distance yourself in the physical way is also creating an emotional distance. So it is helpful, and it is sometimes helpful to do that with that many chairs, but some patients find that confusing. Well, what is this chair again? So if you're working with multiple chairs, don't forget to repeat yourself a lot of the times, make a lot of summaries. Maybe you find yourself boring doing that, but it is helpful, both for yourself as for the patients.
Remco?
Yeah, last question. Yeah, Victoria.
Yeah. With this, with dependent personality disorder, in situations when in this third chair, when the behavior, they need to say what the options that they might do, and in the situation when they don't know, say that I don't know, like, will you help, or kind of what would be like if the client says, oh, I don't know what to do?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. And I guess it's good to realize then we really need to know where we are in the therapy process, because if that is being said in the beginning stages, I would say, of course, well, try it out anyway. Is it difficult? Well, I'll help you, because in the beginning stages, you have to role model that autonomous person. But at the end of therapy, then I'm going to push harder. Come on, I think you have some idea. Try it out. I mean, yeah, I can tell you, but then I would do just the same thing, that repeat the same pattern. I'm not going to say anything. I mean, it's your time. I'm sure you can. Remember what we did? Well, say it. So I'm going to be more pushing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Autonomy and also realistic limits, those are sometimes sometimes a little bit different needs. Often with those needs, when you validate the needs, you get instant good feedback. I feel unsafe. I'll provide you safety. But it doesn't work that way with realistic limits. I mean, when my daughter's taking something, she's eating a lot of candy lately. When I say, Robin, I don't think so, put it back. She's not telling me, she's being irritated, annoyed, that sort of thing. So on a short term, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable for the dependent patient when I'm pushing, but it is a validation of the need on the long term. I'm talking too much. We need to have a break. You're listening to me. Ready? Shall we start? Thumbs up, people. I'm not stopping this before everybody sees. Okay. Good. What I would like to, in this second part of the webinar, there are a couple of things I would like to share. First of all, I've been thinking when to put this into it. I mean, if you look back at how the healthy adult has been part of the literature of schema therapy, it's always been mentioned, but never been well described till a couple of years ago. And what you see happening is that there are there's a lot of literature and there are a lot of books and workshops on them. And they all are great in many ways. What I find sometimes confusing is that they describe so many elements of what a healthy adult does, or what you need to do. Personally, that's what I like about the 3 steps, because that provides you with a framework where to put those different elements in. But if you look at what is being described, a lot of it is about what can you do to strengthen that side of yourself. And then you can read about the meditation or mindfulness or sports or all these different activities that are basically, I guess, there to strengthen that side. And they are all true. What we need to realize is what we've been focusing on is that a healthy adult is a mode. We need to be aware of what that mode looks like, but we also need to be aware of what we do being in that healthy adult mode, the 3 steps. But there's also the part that we need to strengthen that, and that basically is behavioral therapy. This is reinforcing that side of ourselves. This is trying to link that part of ourselves to as many cues that might be there in order to strengthen that side. So that is something I would like to mention, because it's part of what we need to do. We need to teach our patients that in order to strengthen the healthy side, they need to link it to music. Like if they visualize the healthy part, then the next question might be, I would like you to select a song that's for you really signifies this side of yourself. And I want you to bring it into the session with me. And not just one song, maybe more than one songs. Make it a playlist where you put in all the songs that are there to reinforce that side of yourself. What kind of songs, that really is up to that particular patient. For the one, it might be a song that is full of kindness and softness, because they tend to harden up in their controlling coping mode, and being healthy means they need to stay connected more to the vulnerable side of themselves. For others, it's just the other way around. For me personally, what is good for me is to be able to be more in contact with my anger and with more the raw kinds of self-expression. So this is my kind of here, nice. Rage Against the Machine, my kind of music. Not for the whole time, but if I need to reconnect to my healthy adults, that really is helpful, because it brings out the raw energy. It makes me flow. It makes me more aware and less self-sacrificing and focused on other people's needs. I dare more say what I want or what I need. So that might be part of reinforcing healthy adults, but also make use of objects, because to select, for example, an object that is about the vulnerable side of yourself, that object becomes the vulnerable side. But to look at that object brings you in the perspective of an observer. It makes you more an adult looking at its vulnerable side. You are not this little child anymore, you're looking at it, which is in a way reinforcing that healthy side. So what some of you know, because I shared that with Maria, for example, but this is the rose quartz that I use a lot of the times. This is something that I bought when I was 8 years old. I like minerals, I collect minerals. And I found this so beautiful when I was a small boy. I remember putting it in my mouth because I wanted to taste it. So beautiful, I found this piece of mineral. But now, holding it in my hands brings me more in a position where I almost hold the hand of this little boy that I once was. I can almost see this boy when I'm looking at this stone. And by taking it in my hand, makes me more the adult version of myself, holding that hand of the little boy. So there are different ways of how to strengthen that healthy side of ourselves. Music, objects, really good. And of course, all kinds of activities. This is something that you need to figure out together with your patient. What are the activities? What are the situations? What are the people that are really strengthening that side of yourself? Yeah. What kind of examples do you have for me? Before we move on, we have just 1 or 2 minutes. I would like to hear some of your objects or activities or musical songs. Francesca.
Yeah, I was thinking of one client I had who, when he was he was usually very depressed, he would want to listen to really depressing music. And I actually asked him to play it in a session, and it was very kind of dark music. I could suggest to him to make a happy playlist, but if somebody wants to kind of wallow in their misery, if you want, will they be able to switch into that happy mode? Will they accept to kind of pull themselves out of that, melancholy mode or angry mode?
Well, it's a good question, and it is relevant for a topic, because at the end of the day, being healthy does not mean that you always will do beautiful, nice, good, healthy things. But being healthy means it's you making that choice. So what depends a bit on what kind of phase of the therapy we're in. But if this will be the end phase of therapy, I might say to the patient, well, you may sort of wallow in misery. That's all up to you. But I want you as the captain on the ship to make that choice. I know that there's this side of you, that protective side, that sort of retreats and holds back and sort of hides in that melancholy. He's doing that all the time. I'm not asking him to make the choice. I'm asking you. So if you make that choice, that you decide to play this depressing music, that's up to you. There are no fixed rules. It's your life, but I need you to be the captain and not just hand over the steering wheel to the ones who've always been on that steering wheel. So I guess if they say, I want to listen to, that's okay, but what you want is not always what you need. And if this is what you want, make sure that it is the healthy adults making that choice, what you want to do. Any other examples? What do you do with you when you want to strengthen your healthy side?
I want to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you showed this mineral from your childhood, I remember that in my desk I have a thing which also helps me to strengthen my health. It's a mirror, which was given me by my grandma when I was about 7 years old.
Oh.
And she told me it's a princess mirror, and she was a very strong woman, and she died many years ago. She was a healthy adult model for me, and every time when I need to strengthen this part of me and to connect my vulnerable child and with healthy adult who believes in me, who sees me as someone special, I always take this mirror, and it helps me to connect.
It's
fantastic. Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, it sounds really rich and beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Anybody else who would like to share?
I'm listening to Yanni music.
Yanni music.
Yeah. Yanni, when I'm listening to his music, I think I'm very free and I have a flow of my emotions and souls, and I feel very connected to my child. Vulnerability, happy child. It's make me like very, very exciting in life.
It sounds beautiful. Yeah, it really does. I like those examples. One more? Who would like to share more? Ria?
Interesting enough, but when I connect with my happy child mode, I get into the healthy adult mode much easier.
Yeah.
So when I add some humor and playfulness and just craziness, I much easier will get into healthy adult mode.
Yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because so far we've been focusing on being the healthy adult, being wise and strong and empowered. But I guess that's part of it. The reason why we do these exercises in imagery and chair work with both sides, doing it, but also receiving it, is because there are those two sides. Basically, the healthy adult is, in a way, being strong and healthy, but also staying connected to a more vulnerable side. Now, we can either connect to this healthy part by strengthening this and trying to make use of symbols for this part, but we can also connect to this vulnerable child and thereby connecting to the healthy adults. And sometimes it works that way. When I'm stuck, it helps me to put on a movie that I know that will make me cry, because in crying, it will also connect me more to Miss Childbot, and then I'm more able to reconnect to my healthy adults. Yeah, nice. Okay, we need to move on, being mindful of the time. Where is, this is what I would like to share. So strengthening the healthy adult is also preparing that healthy side for future trigger situations. Basically, you have a choice. If it's about the future trigger situation, the choice that you have is that being in a trigger situation will trigger old pain, will trigger old patterns. And part of what the healthy adult needs to learn to do is how to manage, identify, and then manage. It's mode awareness, mode management. That's part of it. But another thing that the healthy adult needs to do is really break through behavioral patterns. The behavioral part is also something that you need to work on. Because no matter how many corrective emotional experiences you provided in therapy, if there's no change in the behavioral patterns, the risks are just too big that they will will slip back into these old patterns. So actually to do things differently is also an important aspect of strengthening the healthy adult. And you could try to combine the two, so how to learn to manage their internal reality and then also try to do things differently. That is something you can do combined, or you can separate them. Imagery scripting is a powerful, prescribing it says, imagery scripting is a powerful tool to prepare yourself for future trigger situations, because the power of imagery is that for the brain it doesn't seem to make any difference if you visualize it, not really happened yet, or you actually experience something. The same brain areas are active in doing the imagery exercise. So using imagery just seems wise to prepare the patient for the future, and then you can make a choice. Either to use the imagery to visualize a trigger situation that might happen in the future, and then make them aware of what happens and learn how to handle that internal reality. Or you can make use of imagery by visualizing to actually do things differently. And to actually visualize doing things differently will help you to do things differently in real life. This is something you already know, of course, from sports. I mean, when you see the Olympic Games and those sports athletes, they've been visualizing their race or their match a million times, because to visualize it and to repeat that a lot of time is to prepare your brain to actually do it differently. Now, if you're doing imagery work, it might be helpful first to discuss with the patient what might be typical trigger situations, and also to ask the patient to identify the dysfunctional patterns, the rigid pattern you've been working on. Like Ahmed pointed out, it was Ahmed, to really prepare yourself for doing imagery work, it's good by starting to visualize the healthy adult, because that's the part that you want to become active. And then to ask the patient to visualize the feared scenario and identify what happens internally. And you help the patients to become aware and then to learn to manage those different modes that are being triggered. And you could then move on and coach the patient in practicing the 3 steps. And that is the theory. What I would like to do is show you an example and then ask you to practice that. Oh, in my impulsiveness, I decided to show you a different example, which I find, I can find it. No, where is it now again? Hold on a moment. Not that one. That one.
So now we're at the stage where you're able to be that healthy one, stepping in an image of your childhood and addressing your father. And then you sound strong and good. You did a good step. Yeah. And thinking about what could be the next step is that we get more prepared for future trigger situations. So a lot of the painful stuff comes from the past, but there will be happening situations in life that will be triggering you and will trigger all the pain. And it's good that we use our time now to prepare us for these situations. What are typical situations that you fear and think might happen in the future that will be difficult, painful maybe?
Yeah, for example, what happened a little while ago, that when Linda canceled the appointment we had, and I was very disappointed. Like, that's sort of a normal situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, it's painful, it's triggering. That's what we noticed. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
So why not use our time today to focus on situations that actually didn't happen yet, but if they happen, then how to cope with these situations. And in these situations, we need that healthy one. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to use that imagery exercise again, and I'll ask you to close your eyes and first start by getting an image of that healthy adult. So be that healthy adult, and if it's about healthy adult, what image comes to mind?
And then I see myself again dealing with this client of mine, the woman I work with, when I dealt with that from my healthy adult side.
Okay, sounds good. And when you look at her, at this healthy one, how does she stand? How does she hold her body?
Yeah, she stands up straight and confident.
Mm-hmm. And what's her motto in life?
I'm okay, and I can handle this.
Good. And brings a smile to your face when you say these words. So yeah, this is the healthy one. Good. Okay. Well, let this image dissolve away for now. So then get an image that is about that scenario that you fear that might happen in the future, and Linda might cancel another appointment or reschedule. So if it's about that, what do you see right now?
And I see myself at home on the phone with Linda.
Mm. What she say?
She's saying, okay, I would like to cancel for tonight. Can we meet another night instead?
Put this image on pause for a moment. And how do you feel right now listening to these words?
You're sad and rejected.
Mm-hmm. And where do you feel that sadness in your body?
Here.
In the stomach. And realize, take a moment to realize that this is old pain. This is little Sandra again, being rejected in her life. And this is the moment that you feel her. Do you recognize little Sandra? Okay. So this is little Sandra. Connect to her for a moment. She's feeling rejected. She's in pain. She feels sad. Now I need you to reconnect to your healthy adult. Be that grown-up Sandra, standing straight. Try to sit the way that she would sit. Remember her motto. Okay. How do you feel right now?
Yeah, better.
Yeah. What's better now?
Well, I feel like I still seem to feel a little bit this sadness, but it's less now. I remember the healthy adult.
Okay. Because this healthy adult feels like, what is the feeling that you have right now?
Yeah, she feels I can handle this.
Okay. Say these words again.
I am okay and I can handle this.
So how do you feel saying these words?
Yeah, stronger.
Stronger. Where is the stronger feeling in your body?
Yeah, it's more my strong back again.
So this is you being the healthy one. I'm okay and can handle this. You still feel a little bit of that pain of little Sandra, don't you?
A little bit.
It's okay. Now focus on that pain for a moment again. So reconnect to that pain. And be aware of that she feels sad. She feels rejected. Can you feel that again? Okay. And what do you think right now? What's going through your mind right now? Feeling that pain again.
Yeah, when I feel that pain, I just want to hide. I want to hang up the phone and just curl up in bed.
So you feel a little Sandra, but you also feel the other side, the protector that tries to take over. Why do you feel that? Where do you experience that protector? It's also a place in your body, or?
Yeah, somewhere like it's pulling me to one side.
And that's okay. Become aware of that. It's pulling you away from the pain of a little Sandra. But again, I need you to reconnect now to your healthy adult. No, I need you to be that grown-up, healthy Sandra again. So say the words that will help you to reconnect. I'm okay.
I am okay and I can handle this.
Sit the way that she's sitting. Brilliant. Good. Yeah. So be the healthy one. So you're aware of a little Sandra with her pain, feeling sad and rejected. It's also the protector pulling you away, but now it's you. You're okay. And you're okay in handling the situation. So from this feeling, what do you want to do? What do you want to say to Linda?
Oh, I'm really disappointed. I was really looking forward to seeing you tonight. But yeah, it's okay. Things can happen, and so this, yeah, I am disappointed, but I understand.
And how do you feel saying these words? Does it feel okay to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feels true.
Feels true. It's coming from the healthy one, from you. Good. So let this image dissolve away. Become more aware of me and the room around you. And after it, you can open your eyes. Welcome back. And how do you feel?
Yeah, it was quite difficult, all this going from one to the other and feeling all these different sides at the same time. But
yeah. Difficult in a way that there was a lot going on, or
yeah.
was it complicated or confusing?
Well, not confusing, it was clear, but there was a lot going on. Yeah, just to feel the pulling to hide and the pain and the strong Sandra.
Yeah. Well, I was actually impressed. There's a lot going on, but that often happens in these triggering situations. You do get triggered, and that's difficult. What's different now is that you're aware of that, you're more aware of it, you're quicker in identifying these signs, and you're also able to reconnect to your healthy adult. And so it was practicing sort of being pulled by the pain and then reconnect, and being pulled away by the protector and reconnect. And that's good practice. That's what we need now. So we cannot avoid these triggering situations in your life, but what we can do is make you good in reconnecting to that strong and healthy one.
And being able to handle it.
I am okay. I know how to handle this one. And you can. Yeah.
Okay. So this example was about the mode awareness and then mode management in terms of how to reconnect and how to stay connected with the healthy adult side. But the other choice, like I said, could have been to actually use imagery to prepare yourself, visualize things differently, actually see yourself do things differently, which is more the behavioral modification, which is more preparing yourself in actually breaking through those behavioral patterns. Any questions about what you just saw or remarks? Yeah, Maya?
Maybe you could explain a little bit more how you mean this trying to make things different in imagery, because I think this also is a little bit training for doing things differently. What you was showing, what is the difference with other imagery work?
So if we would have made the choice to break through behavioral patterns, to focus on the behavioral change, what
Yeah.
would be? Yeah, basically, that was one of the things that I decided to, why I didn't want to show it, because it will look practically the same as what you normally do. The only difference is that the behavior itself didn't happen and you need to prepare. So you talk a bit about what you want to do differently, what you think would be differently. You prepare that scenario and then you visualize it, but you then just focus, you try to make it as realistic as possible that you see yourself do it differently. There are some studies that point out or that suggest that actually be in the observer position, looking at yourself, seeing yourself doing things differently is more effective than doing it from the first person perspective. But there's also some debate on that. So I've been teaching people that for the behavioral change, the observer position might be more effective. So see yourself do it differently. And then there are also some studies that suggest that to really split it up in practical steps, really small steps, not just, and then I approach him and then I tell him that he needs to stop. No, how do you approach him? What do you say? What kind of voice to make it more specific, more concrete? There are some studies that suggest that this is more effective than to do it more generally. This is also more effective in motivating people. So if you're working with addiction, for example, or if you're working with youngsters and you want to work on creating more motivation, what we often do as parents is that we start to talk about the goals and how successful it could be if you would be able to reach that goal. But actually that is not so successful. It's more successful to talk about the steps that you need to take in order to get there and to visualize those steps as concrete, as specific as you can. But to look at it as an example is a little bit, I find it, yeah, my impression was that it might be not interesting enough. Yeah. I was a little bit insecure, at least part of me. Not me, I'm a healthy adult. Any other questions? What I would like you to do is, we are vulnerable human beings as we are also being strong maybe, but we have our vulnerabilities. This is also an invitation to make use of some of your personal situations. We all have situations that we dread, that we find difficult, and we know why that is, because we all feel insecure, we all feel anxious, we all start to feel angry. So I would like you to split up in pairs and to prepare for such a trigger situation first by discuss this with your therapist. Talk a bit about the typical reactions that you might have and why you think this is helpful to prepare yourself with. So the therapist has an idea, what kind of modes will you be confronted with? And then you will start to do the imagery exercise as for the therapist to guide the patient, and guiding the patient in mode awareness and mode management. And mode management means realize this is the vulnerable child part, now reconnect to healthy adults and be kind and understanding. Now realize what you're inclined to do is basically the same old pattern, that is your protector. Reconnect to your healthy adults, be kind and understanding, but also give specific reasons why this is not really helpful. Is that clear? Alrighty. So 25 minutes, roughly. So you can already start by giving me some feedback on how that went. How did that go for you? Okay, not okay?
Can I give feedback?
What is it?
It was so cool actually, because when you see it on the screen and when you feel it, it's absolutely different. So thank you so much for Victoria, for your work. It's really very helpful.
Nice. And how did you sort of color this practice? Was it to focus on the behavioral change, or was it more focusing on the mode management, becoming aware and then reconnect to the healthy adult?
Both.
Both. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, could easily be done. Yeah, both. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, nice that you enjoyed the experience. What was it like for other people? Did you also experience something in this exercise? Did you get something on an emotional level or an experiential level? I see some people not. Lina, you would like to comment maybe?
I felt calm and more strong.
That sounds nice. Yeah, Lynn?
Okay, I think that we did quite a bit on the behavioral change, and it was really very helpful to visualize yourself doing it. And I felt quite empowered by that and actually think maybe I actually can do it.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty. I mean, it becomes an experience and it helps you to get that confidence. I'm really glad that you experienced that. What was helpful in making this an experience that made it so believable for you? What was helpful in what your therapist was doing?
I think it was in leading me to get to be in the situation and to feel things in my body and to be able to feel the power in my body. I think that that was quite important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably very important.
Yeah, what I recognize is that the use of different modalities in imagery is really helpful. Not just imagery, but in imagery, because you're using the power of the brain, of the imagination, to make use of as many aspects as you can, is making it is more powerful. Yeah. And what I was saying also is somewhat that to Francesca, I think it was, that with behavioral modification, sometimes it really is helpful if you're clear and directive in your instructions as the therapist. Because if you as the patient are trying to visualize something that you're not used to, things can become blurry, even though you prepared for them quite well. In that moment, it might become a little bit hazy, like what are you going to do? What are you going to say? And so as a therapist, you're helpful in being directive. And that's not something that we sometimes easily do. Say, I want you to, I need you to, and then give a clear instruction. Yeah. What I would like to, because time is running up, and what I would like to point out is that so far what we did today is with the use of that awareness of the mode of the healthy adults, we focus now on what that healthy adult does, the 3 steps of the healthy adults: compassion, cognitive restructuring, behavior modification. We also make use of the powers of visualization by really preparing yourself for future trigger situations. And we mentioned in between that there are many different ways how to strengthen that healthy adult mode, to link it to objects, to link it to situations, to practice, to link it to songs and physical positions, to choose activities that can strengthen that. Another way to prepare for the future is by challenging that healthy adult more. So this imagery exercise that we did was just in a way, neutral way to prepare yourself. What would you like to do? Visualize it, that's it. But reality might be more complicated. Reality might be more challenging. So another way of strengthening that healthy adult is really to put it to the test and to test it out. That is requiring from us as the therapist a different approach. Pushing them means we have to become a little bit nasty to the patient. We need to sort of make it more difficult. And chairwork might be a good way, because then you can help actually take the position as the therapist, you take the position of the coping mode, or you take the position of the parent mode, and you are going to be the one that is voicing out, expressing those typical things that they feel stuck with. So with your avoidant patient, you might say, well, Maybe you just sleep a night on it, and maybe you don't have to do it right now. You can always return to it. Just go away, that's better. And then the patient is sort of challenged, pushed in a way to express why this coping mode is not right. And that is something, that is a way to prepare them also in a slightly different way for future trigger situations. What I would like to do is just show you, not just show you how that technically is done, but also show you in a way that what you are aiming for is the best result that you can get, but what you will get is not always what you would like it to be. That means that the healthy adult, even though we said right from the start, a healthy adult is not this Buddhist-like monk being in total balance. Still, over time, we tend to think in terms like that. We want the patient to become better. We are aiming high, and that's good, but the result that we get might not be as good as we would like it to be. And still, it might be good enough. So that's the other message I would like to give. Just hold on for a moment. All right. Well, just a couple of sessions left and then therapy will end. And that means that you have to do the work yourself. I won't be around anymore to help you identify your controller or help you with reasons why we don't want to listen to that controller anymore. But I'm confident that you can do that on your own, although I do think we need to practice that. We need to strengthen your healthy sides a bit more. Because it will be tough. There will be many situations in which your controller will take over, or at least try to take over. And the sooner you realize that, and the better you're prepared for these moments, the better you'll be able to push him aside and be able to connect to your feelings, to your needs.
Yeah. Some practice would probably be helpful.
Yeah. And we're doing it for what? What was your motto for this therapy?
Well, to have more joy in life.
Exactly. Enjoy life more instead of working through life, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go for that. And then we're going to practice this with the use of the chair technique. You will know it by now, and we'll take this chair, I'll place it over here. But this time I'm going to sit in that chair, so it will be slightly different. And sitting in this chair, now I'm going to be your controller.
Oh.
And I know him by now. I know what he will say. So that gives us a chance, because then you have a chance to be the healthy John, the grown-up John that has decided to take his wife to Disney World. The one that feels a bit more light and is able to enjoy life more. So I need you for this moment to take some time to connect to that part of yourself in every way that it's possible. So maybe you can close your eyes, think back about that moment in Disney World. Maybe sit up the way that this healthy John would sit. Think about your motto. Okay. Are you connected to that healthy part of yourself?
I think so.
Then you can open your eyes, and I'll be the controller, and I need you to fight me. Say why I'm not right. So I'll start, and I'll start being your controller. I'll start by saying, yeah, but you know, all that feeling stuff doesn't seem to be very efficient. I mean, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, I get a headache afterwards, and I just don't see the use of all that emotional stuff.
Yeah, I can't disagree with it. It's all true.
Okay, but these are my lines. Now you're being the controller, but that's my role.
Yeah, but I do feel uncomfortable with it.
I know you do. Yeah, but this is the place where I can say these sort of things. In that seat, you're not allowed to say the things that I agree. I need you to give reasons why you don't agree.
Yeah, but you're saying it. I'm just agreeing with you.
I know, but I need you in that seat as the healthy John. Would the John that came to therapy, would the John that was looking at his wife enjoying Disney World, would he really say that? Would he really be agreeing with me?
Maybe not at Disney World, but maybe at work.
Exactly, but at work, who's present at work? You, the healthy one, or me, the controlling one? At work?
Well, the efficient one, yeah.
Yeah, of course, that's my area, that's my domain. So I understand it's difficult. You want to sit on this chair.
Yeah.
And that will happen in many occasions, but that's the practice. I need you to sort of be aware of that. That's what you would like to do, but what you like to do is not what you need to do. I need you to stay in that chair, and you need to stay in that chair. Remain that healthy one. So I'm going to say that. And I agree, I don't think that feelings are useful. Now, say to me why they are useful. Why is it important to connect to feelings?
Because other people want feelings.
Who? Which people?
Well, like my wife, for instance.
Good one. Talk about your wife.
She, well, you know, she's a woman. She has a lot of feelings, and she wants me to have feelings. And she said, well, that's why I came to therapy. She didn't feel that I had enough, that I didn't understand her, and I didn't have enough feelings for her.
Okay. This is going to be easy. For me, it's going to be easy, because I now can say, well, yeah, but you know, feelings, that's for women. Because I'm a man, I don't have that. Okay, now be the healthy John. Why am I not right? What's wrong with this reason that I'm giving you?
I don't know, because it's true. Women have more of the feely, touchy, and guys
Oh,
are
you're
more...
trying to get on my chair again. I'm not allowing you. There's only room for me now. You're seated in that chair. That's the chair of healthy John. That's the chair of John that's not thinking that feelings is rubbish. You're the John. Take a moment. I feel that you're trying to sit here, but you have to practice being that healthy one. Close your eyes. Think back of Disney World. Think of your motto. Do whatever it takes.
Well, I'm trying to at least, I don't know if you want to say I'm faking my feelings, but I'm trying to present feelings.
You're trying to present feelings. I like that. And why is it so important then to present feelings, to talk about feelings?
Because then my wife thinks I'm normal.
Okay. So that's what your wife thinks?
And other people.
But how would you feel if you would be able to talk more about feelings, express your feelings? And we've been talking about that.
I know, but it's still weird.
It's weird, but say it anyway. Why is it important to express feelings?
Because it makes you more human.
Why is it important for you to express feelings?
Makes you more, I guess, happy. I don't know. Not always, though. 'Cause sadness is not happy.
Okay, but that's something that I could say as the controller. Yeah, but sadness, that's not a good feeling. But before I say that, good, very good of you. So expressing feelings is something that makes you happy. It doesn't feel always like that, but this is why we do this. Okay. But I'll be the one who expresses that out. Yeah, but what about sadness? Sadness isn't a good feeling. Now be the healthy John. Why isn't it a bad thing to be sad sometimes? remember the practice with sharing the grief?
Oh, yeah.
Your
Yeah,
wife?
because when other people feel sad, then you can help them to feel better.
Yeah.
But if you can't feel sad, that you don't know what they're feeling.
Wow, that's a good one. I can feel that as a controller. I feel that this is a tough one. I can't sort of push that aside. Okay. I'm going to sit over in that chair. Okay?
Okay.
So we have a chance to talk a bit about what's happened. Well, what do you make of this? How do you think this exercise is going on?
It's well, it feels like it's kind of gelling a little bit. It's coming together a little bit. I mean, I'm starting to see how everything kind of fits together,
yeah.
and why it's needed. It doesn't always make sense,
Yeah.
but it's starting to make sense.
Yeah. It feels the same for me. It feels like you're starting to see, and sometimes it feels right, but on other moments it doesn't. It's awkward. Yeah. That means that you need to practice this more often, because you're good at it once you really throw yourself into it. But it's a tough thing to do. Part of you wants to sit over there, and you need to be alert for that. You need to be aware, like, oh, whoa, no, that's the controller again. He wants to take over. That will be the easy way for that moment, but it wouldn't get you anywhere. So this is something that we are practicing now, but maybe for the next couple of weeks you can practice that more often. And I think you do need to practice that, is why I'm honest with you.
Yeah, because I have to learn to do it on my own.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Any comments of what you just saw?
I have one comment. It's if I can imagine that is my patient from the last third phase of therapy, I would think that I failed this therapy because he is so egocentric with the not healthy adult part.
Yeah. And that's precisely why I would like to show, why I wanted to show this to you. Because not always, but with some patients, it might be that you still have those doubts. And what it might be triggering is the feeling like, maybe it's too soon. Maybe we should give him more therapy. And then you start to change your plan. You thought of a plan like 50 sessions, and you think we might add 20 or 30 sessions. But don't do that. Just time pressure is a funny thing. Even though you have the feeling like this is not going to work, that push of time limits is also part of the effectiveness. Yeah. And it's also maybe making us a bit more humble, like we are aiming high, but don't forget that reality might be more complicated and more raw and less ideal than we would like it to be. I'm sure you have experiences like that you had patients at the end of therapy that you felt like, nah, not really my most favorite, or the one that I would write about in a book or something. I see you nod, Lynn. You have to unmute yourself.
I totally identify with Oksana. I would also feel, oh my, it would trigger all my defectiveness schemas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't let it get to you. I mean, even though it still shows that there needs to be work done, yeah, you've done your best, and now it's also up to the patient. And sometimes sometimes the patient just needs to take that step and dive into the deep and wrestle a bit, but then come above the waterline and be able to swim by himself. You might not be able to take it over or to do it for him. Any other questions or comments on this?
Maybe I have one question. Is it true with all kind of difficulties and disorders that this time pressure is nice thing, which is let's say making this changes faster, or it has some limitations, and for some patients it's not so not so wonderful to have this time pressure.
Yeah. Well, the time limits is something that came up with treating the cluster C patients. And
Yeah.
it was because of the research study where there was this time limit, it turned out to be effective. And then it also made sense because realizing there was about different modes, realizing that the coping modes were far too effective in cluster C patients, time pressure was seen as being an effective ingredient. But for borderline patients, for other pathologies, it was considered not to be that good because with borderline patients, the basic core needs that are involved have more to do with an unsafe attachment to other people. So if you push too hard at the start, in a way, you're making things unsafe. But even lately, the last couple of years, more and more there's more there are more and more signs that even for borderline patients, it might be good that you stop the therapy at a given point and that you are clear about it right from the start. Maybe not as strongly as we do it with class C patients, but even for the borderline patients to become more autonomous, it needs to be. It might be helpful that you're aware where you're working towards. I mean, there's this point on the horizon. Maybe it's further away than with the class C patients, but with that point, there's a focus, and the focus is on getting you more empowered, getting you more confident. There's some debates, like if I look back at the last one of the conferences in Edinburgh, there was some debates between people from the society, like if it would or wouldn't be a wise thing to put time limits into the therapy plan. I come from the Dutch research system with people like Arnold Arends that with all the research that they do tell me that this is basically becoming more and more effective. So I'm just following up their advice, but I'm not the one to say that you have to do it. But it makes sense to me personally as well. It makes sense that if you're working towards a point where you feel confident, it helps to be able to know what that plan is, how much time you have, and to make use of the time the best you can.
Okay, thank you.
Can I? Okay.
No.
I just want to continue quickly the question of Maria Remco. Maria, can't see you. But if there is some special traumatic experience and some trauma, could we just put it also in the plan and say, let's work on this, especially for 5 or 10 sessions more, for example, even if it's cluster C or I don't tell about borderline. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess part of that plan is like you putting things on the agenda, and it's a good example because with traumatic experiences, it depends a bit. People doing EMDR frequently, they might be they might choose to do the trauma work right at the beginning stages, with the rationale like if I'm lowering the intensity of the post-traumatic stress symptoms, I'm more free, I'm more able to work on other patterns. But if you're not doing that, if you want to postpone those really traumatic experiences till later on, reality will be that if you are working with the patient and things are going better and the patient is improving, then it's not really a nice thing to put the PTSD on the map again. It's just a human response to feel like, nah, why go to the pain? We're improving so much. So to have this plan at the beginning where you say, well, okay, we're not doing it right away, but we need to address it, because if we don't, when it becomes part of the plan, you guard yourself, you protect yourself against that avoidance that might be kicking in once you are on your way. Yeah. What I get is that the whole talk about time limits is something that might trigger you or might be sort of,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention, because my fear with cluster C and 50 sessions is that we have a science where the phase 1 finishes and phase 2 starts, and then when phase 2 finishes and phase 3 starts, and my fear is that I will not reach in 25 session all the signs, or at least half signs that we completed already first phase. And what should I do? Should I kind of start second phase without without reaching all the signs that it's time for it, or to extend the amount of sessions. So it's a lot of pressure, not only on the patient but also on the therapist.
Yeah, I understand, and we'll be talking about those phases and where what are the evaluation criteria, almost suggesting that that will be the moment that you will start to evaluate. But once you put it in the therapy plan and on a map, you will become aware that it's not working the way that you want it to be. So if your plan was after half a year or 1 year, the patient should be able to make use of the mode language, then halfway through that process, you might start to think like, oh, this is not really working. And that will make you talk about it more explicitly. You will point it out to the patient. So it will not be just one moment that you will be talking about those criteria. It will be part of the therapy. You will start to push a little bit earlier, and thereby creating opportunities for the patients to pick up on that and to actually do the works. Yeah, and again, be kind and understanding to yourself. What I'm pointing out, these are elements that might be helpful. We're talking about strengthening a healthy adult. This is part of how to do that, but it's also not exact science. I mean, you're doing the best that you can, and if it's not working out the way that you want it to be, and you have to prolong therapy, that's okay too. I mean, there's no chemotherapy police, at least not that I'm aware of, that will jump into your room and say, haha, but this was not the plan that you signed off to do. No, this is just you trying to do your best in every way that you can. Yeah. People, we're come to the end of the time that we reserved for this webinar. I would like to make use of the last couple of minutes to just check up with you. How do you feel? How do you feel about the webinar? But if you want to add, how do you feel in life? That's also good. But how do you feel about a webinar? I see a lot of thumbs up. That's great. But then that's really nice. I like to see that. But what did you like then about a webinar? Sorry for this. Yeah. But I would love to know.
You know, I got to know that not only me, before switching to healthy adult, first need to be switched to child mode, because I'm the same, and I felt like I'm strange. But it's not only one, but it's one of the interesting things I found out today. It was very useful. Thank you very much, Remco.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that, and I can imagine that you obviously already know a lot about chemotherapy. You all know. So it might be points or elements. What was it like for other people? Did you find elements that were useful, Maria?
Yeah, I loved the structure because it's for me, very logical, the way you put the webinars, and also the video materials. It's very helpful to see it, the way you're doing it, and then to practice it. You know, when you practice it, you watch it, you practice, you discuss it. It was really, really helpful to see. And for me, one of the most things I'm taking is that Buddha thing. A healthy adult is not always this Buddha thing, Buddha, right? That you are always in this healthy adult with any situation. And today's webinar was really, for me, very, very valuable. I appreciate it a lot, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the kind words. I'm happy that you feel happy with what you got from it. Anybody else who would like to comment or questions? You can also point out things that you'd like to improve. Oh, Maria, yeah, we will point out.
I just will say thank you so much. You are very, very connected with all of us. I think it's a huge part of the success of the webinars. It's not only what you say, but also how you are communicating, and I'm really grateful for that.
No, thank you so much. I do feel connected to you, and I'm happy we're happy, kind words. And I do feel like we had a great atmosphere, and I'd like you as a group, see familiar faces, but we've been practicing, you've been active in participating, really love that, yeah. So, yeah?
Oh, you can. I also want to say, but okay. I want to continue with words of Maria and also tell, for me, it seems extremely valuable that you are, yes, connected, and you share more about your own experience. You show how it works, not just theoretical things, but you're like involving yourself in all this, what you are doing. This what is senses and very valuable.
Well, thank you so much. Now, I'm glad that the time limit is making it possible to say, okay, that's it, because I'm starting to feel shy and okay, people. Happy to work with you. See you in another time, in another place, hopefully without Corona and in good health. And stay healthy.